Hello and welcome to Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Will Meadows.
And I'm Sara Meadows, and today we're looking at the Iliad and Les Miserables by Escape Velocity Games.
Since both of these games fit so nicely on the shelf together with their little packaging and their literary themes, we thought we'd go ahead and tackle both of them at the same time. We're going to look at the Iliad, Heroes of Troy, first.
In the Iliad, there are three factions: the Trojans, the Greeks, and the gods. Depending on player count, you may use only two factions, may use all three, or you may split up into teams.
At the beginning of the game, players are dealt a hand of cards. They choose 3 cards to discard back into the draw pile, and then the Greeks play first.
Each turn, players play 1 card from their hand onto the top of the discard pile. 1 point is earned for each icon they manage to match. However, the points go to whichever faction's card was played.
Yeah, so while I might be playing as the Greeks, if I lay this card, the Trojans will actually get 2 points.
After the points have been awarded, the person who played the card then gets to take one of the actions based on the icons that appear on the card he played.
He might get to look at another player's cards, or steal a card, or play another card, or force another player to lose points.
Play continues in this manner until one player no longer has any cards in his hand. He gains an extra point for being the first one out, and then everyone counts up their tokens and any special cards they have, and the player with the most points wins.
So the game does have a little bit of backstabbiness to it, but it's not the vindictive mean sort, because in this game you're giving so many points to other players that stealing back 1 or 2 isn't really a big deal. A lot of the gameplay in the meat of it is just deciding how to mitigate those points and the opportunity costs of playing this card versus this card.
Yeah, there are a lot of good decisions to make. Even when you start off, you put some of your cards back into the deck, and you may choose to put some of your own faction back in so that you can draw them later and get points later in the game. You may choose to keep all of your cards, and so there really is some good decision making that go along in this game.
The icons are a little small, and this could cost some people some AP because there's a lot to analyze every time, to make sure you're playing the point card that gets you the most. But if you like that decision making type of stuff, then I think this is a really solid game for you. Let's keep rolling though and go ahead and look at Les Mis.
Les Miserables, Eve of Rebellion is also a card game for 2 to 4 players. At the beginning of the game, players are dealt a hand of 2 cards, and then a draw pile, a kill pile, a live pile, and 3 face-up cards are laid out into the middle of the table.
Each turn, players can decide to either take one of the face-up cards, draw a face-down card, play a card and use its actions, or score a card.
Scoring in this game is interesting because it's not typically based on what's in your hand, but what's in each of the different piles.
So if I were to play this card, I would look through the kill pile and see if there were 5 soldier symbols in the stack. Then the save pile to see if 9 aristocrats or the crown symbols were there. And then finally, and usually you would do this at the same time, I'd look for 14 of the soldiers in the kill stack.
The player is awarded the points, and then he must decide whether to kill or save his card.
Once the last card is drawn from the table, the game ends with everyone getting a final turn, and then the player with the most points wins.
I really enjoyed the planning of your hand and which order you use your cards in. It's hard to keep track of what ends up in the kill pile and the live pile, but it offers some good decision making and trying to gaining lots of points.
This is definitely one of those games that's like a card counter's delight because you see a lot of the cards that are on the table. We didn't mention it, but when you take one of the face-up ones that's sticking in front of you, that stays face-up for the game. When you take the face-down one, that's really the only secret information in the game because whenever a player plays a card, you get to see it kind of before they decide whether to go into the kill or to the live pile. So there's lots of keeping track and remembering going on in this game.
Yeah, and also when you take an action, you lay that card out in front of you and it's still available for you to use in later turns again. So you may want to later score it or reuse the action on the card.
Yeah, lots of good decisions, lots of good choices. Both of these games are really small instruction manual games, so they're not hard to get into and play, and they really do offer some pretty great and pretty deep options for you. If you're a literary buff or you're looking for card games that work good with 2 players, 2 to 4, these might be right up your alley.
Yeah, check out Escape Velocity Games for more information on these 2, and check out some of the other videos by Tantrum House.